All right, so after watching this Rhuidean episode for like the 100th time, because my goodness, it was so good. It was so good. One of the best episodes of fantasy TV I've seen, right? So, yeah, after obsessing over it, a thought came in my head. Would I want to go to a Rhuidean in real life, right? To experience my actual ancestors' lives? So, of course, I had to come to y'all and run my mouth about it, right? Okay, so the question is posed. If Rhuidean existed in real life or something like it, right? And you could go there, like it's the same process almost and everything, right? Would you go? I mean, it's the same process, just tweaked a little bit. Like, let me set the scene, because you would get to the outskirts of the city with a wise one. What city should we choose? What city should, like, what IRL, like, modern city should we choose? Like, okay, so let's just, since I'm biased, since I'm here, let's act like Rhuidean is Atlanta or something, right? Let's act like it's Atlanta. Let's act like it's Atlanta. So you get to the outskirts of Atlanta, right? And you come with a wise one, and like, wait, who should a wise one be in Atlanta? Who would you, maybe like a club promoter or something. Maybe like a club promoter or something, right? So you get to the outskirts of the city, right? And the socialite, club promoter, hairdresser, barber, stylist, choreographer, creative director, wise one tells you, all right, you got to leave your weapons here, right? Because that's what they did in Rhuidean. So you got to leave your pepper spray, you got to leave your beer mace, you got to leave your taser, you got to leave your Glock, you got to leave your weapons, honey, your pocket knife, whatever. You got to leave it on the outskirts before we take you downtown to Midtown to the rings and stuff, right? Like before we take you to the bars to get into it. So you leave your weapons, and the club promoter, the creative director, choreographer, the hairdresser, she tell you one step forward, a step backward in time, right? So I guess Moraine's path in Rhuidean should be a choice in this hypothetical scenario, technically, but I don't want to talk about like different future timelines. I want to talk about the past right now because we're talking about ancestors, right? So, and the catch with this entire thing is like, you know, the same catch with Rhuidean, like that you have, well, more specifically with this hypothetical situation is that you have to actually experience at least 3 hours of your, whoever ancestor you're seeing right now, you have to experience at least 3 hours of their life. And then another catch is that you don't have control over what part of their life you'll be experiencing, what exact 3 hours of their life you will be seeing. You won't have the choice. It could be something very, very painful. But at the same time, every experience that you have, every vision you have will teach you something very important about either yourself or the world around you. And so with all those stipulations, I definitely think that I would still go. Like, I would still go, even with it potentially being extremely painful, like a very painful experience. I would still want to do it. I would be trembling, but like I would want to do it. I think it would be incredibly revealing and informative for me as a Black person, as a Black creative, as a Black queer person, right? I would love to see what my ancestors had to do to survive under different kinds of systems of oppression. And like, you know, we do know some things, obviously, because a lot of things, obviously, because of research and history and all that. But I can only imagine the kinds of things that were warped and distorted and twisted or hidden from the history books, right? So it would be really cool to see what they had to do to survive. Experiencing certain things they had to face would, of course, be horrific. But that is, unfortunately, the price that we're saying we're going to have to pay in this hypothetical situation to experience our ancestors' lives. Because honestly, I would love to see how they still managed to create, to laugh, to love, even in the midst of all that pain and turmoil and the discrimination, oppression. Then I'd apply some of those same strategies to my life today. So yeah, I think going to an IRL Rhuidean would help me deal with the world that I face today, right? Like, as I can only see the world through the lens of being a Black queer person, right? So it would help me see and deal with the structures of racism and BS that are in the world today. And I think learning from the ancestors directly will help me avoid pitfalls. And I would love to go back so far that I could see how different civilizations and societies affected my family, just like we saw in the episode with Rand. Real quick, let me read this. I found on epigenetics, right? It relates, don't worry. So talking about a study conducted by scientists at New York's Emory University, they found that mice could inherit fear responses to specific stimuli that their parents were exposed to, even without having been directly exposed to that stimulus or whatever stimuli themselves. So in this study, researchers exposed male mice to a specific smell while also simultaneously shocking them, mildly shocking these mice while they're smelling it. So over time, obviously, the mice learned to associate the smell with the shock, and they developed a fear response to the scent. What's particularly crazy about this is that when the offspring of these male mice were born, they also exhibited a fear response to the same smell. So the male mice who were experimented on, they had kids, they had babies, and those babies reacted to the smell that, their parents had been shocked every time they smelled it. They reacted to the smell as if they had been shocked themselves. So the offspring ended up exhibiting heightened sensitivity to the scent and showed signs of anxiety, even though they were not shocked, even though they were not the ones they were not the ones experimented on, right? It was their parents. So similar things like that obviously happen with human beings. Like imagine getting tensed up. Imagine you getting tensed up over a smell or a sound or an experience, and you have no idea that that's even happening because your ancestors or your parents, your grandparents went through it and passed down that same fear or fear response to you. I thought that was crazy. So I'm like, that's why, oh my gosh, like how cool would it be to go back in time and see what's going on with your ancestors, what's triggering them, what's disturbing them, or what's making them happy, what's making them get their lives and feel passionate, whatever. Right? It would be so cool to go back and see it happening. So you can be like, oh, so that's why I react to this in this way. Or, oh, that explains why I, approach certain things the way I do. I don't know. I feel like it would help me figure my life out much more easily, right? Also, I'd love to trace my roots back so far that I get to see firsthand an Africa that was yet untouched by chattel slavery, white Jesus, white Christianity, white supremacy. Like, it would be so cool to experience a society that was just drastically different in those ways, right? Because, even the laws that we have in American society based off of Christianity, all these religions. So it would be cool to see a society that's completely devoid of some of these things, right? Because I think that also gets us to thinking about, okay, well, what's possible in our modern day? These unwritten rules, they're not unchangeable, right? So I think it would widen my perspective on what is possible in 2025. But I'd also learn about myself. I'd no doubt have certain habits, hobbies, talents, thought processes that my ancestors had, or at least things pretty close to it, right? We would put a lot of things into perspective. I'd probably end up feeling like I transcended or died after I'm done, right? Like Rand and Moiraine did when they left Rhuidean. I definitely think it would be worth it, though. In my opinion, I think the knowledge that you'd get from going back would be worth experiencing some of the pain that your ancestors, once experienced. So, but I'm saying this as somebody who ain't getting their back opened by a whip or something. You know what I'm saying? Like, so I'm just talking like we could actually do it. But I definitely think that the information we could get, it would just widen our perspectives, or it would widen, and it would probably make us angry too. Like, oh my gosh, these systems of oppression have been around for so long and we still dodging and ducking still in 2025. So I don't know. I think it would be a transcendent experience. I even with the horrors that have most certainly happened to my ancestors, right? I still would want that perspective that you would inevitably get after living in their shoes. So let me know what you thought about this. I thought it was fun, like a fun little discussion we could have. Let me know. Thank y'all so much for watching, and I'll catch y'all later. Peace. Make sure that you're going to www.zeraxia.com. When you join the wait list there on the site, you will be the first to be notified when I drop my sequel. Also, you'll immediately get chapter 1 of my upcoming sequel of the upcoming book sent to your email as a PDF. So check that out. Also, this is a different excerpt from my upcoming book, so you definitely want to pause to read if you're trying to get your life. Keep in mind that this upcoming book, this sequel, is following up the first book that is already released called Xeraxia, Wrath of the God King. I released it a few years ago. It was my introduction to writing fantasy and stuff. So just go easy on me. But either way, as you can see here, it's given 4.9 stars. It's given 4.9 stars. So yeah, check out Xeraxia, Wrath of the God King while you wait for Xeraxia, The Vengeance of Coldwind, right? And go to Xeraxia.com, sign up, join the waitlist, get your free chapter. Thank you so much.